I just love weird, psychedelic art. This week, I took a break from my game for a couple days to play around with a less common method of 3D rendering called ray marching, hoping to sprinkle in some artistic flavor along the way. With ray marching, instead of creating models and animation with your 3D editing program and then importing them into your game engine, you define shapes using math, specifically how far away your shape is from a 3D point. Then, when you want to render the 3D scene for the player, for each pixel on the screen, you march a point forwards out into the 3D space, using the math that defines your 3D shapes to tell you if the point has collided with any of them. If it does, you mark down how far away it is. So you end up knowing how far away the objects in the foreground are for each pixel on the screen. And it turns out, that's enough to go off of to create some pretty trippy looking shit. There are then some simple techniques you can use to take a simple shape and turn it into this lattice-like structure where the shape repeats off into infinity and beyond. Also, you can blend shapes together in clever ways to create new, weird-looking shapes. Then, all you have to do is make these parameters that define these shapes change over time to get some trippy-looking shapes, and pass the distance of each pixel into a color gradient, and it's like, whoa, I could stare at this for an hour straight. And I did. I love working with graphics because it's such an iterative creative process. The early work often looks pretty sick and encourages you to keep going. After I published this ray marching experiment, I went back to working on my factory-like game, Discotech. I spent a bit of time working on the pathways that move units around the level, and discovered there's a lot of work that goes into understanding the player's intent when they build things, and not creating friction in that process. For example, if you're putting down a path from A to B, and there's already a path at A or B, what do? Replace it? Add to it? Same questions for spaces in the middle. Should they replace the path that they're going over, or should they add to it? Originally, I wanted the player to be able to split off the path at any point along the way, but it got pretty confusing. All the factory games I've played have these special things you can put down called splitters and mergers, which split off and combine paths, respectively. And now I kinda get why. It's not only simpler for the developer, but I think it's also simpler for the player to understand and express themselves. And that's my report for now. Thanks for listening.